and you wanted to shout to warn somebody, it's quite possible they could never hear you, because if you were shouting, say the Earth was spinning in this direction, and you were shouting in that direction, the sound could never catch up to the person who's, of course, being carried away by the Earth.
In October of 1929, Andrea again tried to focus the world's attention on the controversy by proving the notion the Earth spins to be absolute nonsense. It was reasoned that if a dirigible was to go aloft in England and hold itself perfectly static, then by the accepted theory the Earth should rotate underneath it and New York should come into view some 4 or 5 hours later. In fact, England was never lost from view. The dirigible eventually ran low on fuel and had to land. Andrea insisted she had made her point. But New York wasn't paying attention that day. The stock market crash monopolized the headlines then and for some time to come. Andrea had again been upstaged.
Instead of going, spinning around this way and going around, it goes up and down. Now, when the Earth is up here, and this is the sun, no rays, dark. When the Earth is down here, daylight. When the Earth is here, relative to the sun, and it's going up, sunset, into night. Reaches the top of its path, comes back down again, and sunrise.
Now, an interesting thing happens at the ends of the Earth. You see, when you go on a car trip from point A to point B, you're moving through what's called space. And it takes time to get through space. But if there is space, there must also be non-space. It's kind of like saying, if there's wet, there must be dry. You can't have one without the other. It's obvious. So when you get to the end of the pizza model of the Earth, you're actually moving from space into non-space. Now you can move through non-space in no time. See, it takes time to move through space, but it takes no time to move through non-space. So a lot of things are affected by this. So for example, satellites, as they cross the Earth, they will then go into this non-space region. They will instantly then be able to reappear back where they started by taking a non-space route. The moon does this, the sun does this, and stars even do this at a very, very slow rate, moving from space into non-space and then reappearing back where they started from. This is due to probably of reflectivity and complementarity that is a well-known phenomenon.
By November of 1938, Andrea was prepared for her second attempt to reach the edge. A consortium of financiers were providing her with a plane and a large enough crew to make a legitimate go of it. And so, once again, an optimistic Andrea found herself in Antarctica. And once again, fate was against her. A freak spring blizzard took them by surprise. They were unable to leave base camp, much less make a trip to the edge. The entire expedition was very nearly wiped out. That was the last attempt Andrea made until 23 years later, when she set off alone by snowmobile in 1961. Until recently, that was the end of the story. Early this year, a researcher stationed in Antarctica to study weather patterns found a snowmobile partially buried in a snowbank. It had run out of fuel and there were no signs of Andrea anywhere. But he did find these, a camera and a note. The note says only, "I have been there. The debate finally comes to an end. Signed, Andrea B." It had survived the frozen elements for nearly 30 years. Unfortunately, the researcher inadvertently opened the camera, exposing the film inside. Any pictures were lost, and Miss Barnes' trip is still very much shrouded in mystery. There was no description of what she had seen or how far away it was. But if we are to believe the note, then Andrea Barnes was very likely the first person in history to visit the edge of the Earth.
What you don't know, you eliminate. And that's, in my opinion, is what the globular Earth theorists have done. They've just eliminated what they didn't know. The more honest approach is the flat Earth approach, where you say, well, we don't know what's at the ends, but the ends are there.